The small office was buzzing with activity. Papers shuffled, keyboards clacked, and phones rang incessantly. Ayo sat quietly at his desk, typing away, his face a picture of concentration. During his lunch break, he stood up, stretched, and walked to the back corner of the office where it was quieter. He knelt and whispered a silent prayer, a routine he'd followed for years. His colleague, Tunde, watched him with raised eyebrows from across the room. "Ah, Ayo, every day you must pray, Abi," Tunde said, a mocking grin on his face. Ayo stood up, smiling politely. "It helps me focus, Tunde, nothing else." Tunde shrugged and turned back to his work, mumbling under his breath. "Just don't let Oga catch you." That afternoon, Ayo was called into the manager's office. Mr. Darrow was seated behind his desk, a stern look on his face. "Ayo?" Mr. Darrow began, folding his hands. "I've been hearing some complaints. Someone said you're using work time for personal activities." Ayo's heart skipped. "Ah, sir, I only pray during my break." Mr. Darrow sighed deeply. "Some staff feel uncomfortable. Maybe you should reconsider." Ayo nodded, swallowing his frustration. "I understand, sir. I'll be more discreet." Over the next few weeks, Ayo noticed whispers growing louder. Tunde seemed to especially enjoy spreading a certain rumor that Ayo was slowing down the team with his prayer habits. One evening, Ayo overheard Tunde talking to another colleague. "I'm telling you, that's why our targets are down. Ayo's always taking time to pray instead of working." Ayo clenched his fists but kept quiet. The words stung, but what could he do? Speaking up would only make it worse. The tension came to a head one dreary Tuesday morning. As they settled into the day's work, Mr. Darrow called everyone into the conference room. The air was thick with unease as he addressed the team. "We need to have a serious talk about performance. Some of you are not meeting our goals." His eyes flickered momentarily towards Ayo. "What's more, there's a problem with team dynamics." Ayo felt every eye on him, burning with silent accusation. After the meeting, Ayo approached Tunde as they returned to their desks. "Tunde, what's going on? Why are you spreading lies?" Ayo asked, hurt and confused. Tunde laughed. "Ah, Ayo, I'm not lying. We all see you leaving your desk. Maybe if you stop praying, you'll work faster." Ayo's voice was a whisper, barely controlled. "I pray outside work hours. You know that." "Maybe. But others don't see it that way." By the end of the day, the rumbling had turned into a full-blown storm. Ayo was summoned to the manager's office again. This time, Mr. Darrow did not look friendly. "Ayo, after much consideration, we're letting you go," he announced flatly. Ayo's head spun. "But why?" "Sir, I meet all my targets." Mr. Darrow's voice softened slightly. "Ayo, it's about perception. The team sees you as a distraction. I'm sorry." Ayo left the office, his mind a tumult of disbelief and anger. His heart ached with injustice. Ayo walked home under the scorching sun, each step fueled by anger. How could they? His dreams of progressing in the company shattered in an instant. He thought of his family, how proud their faces had been when he got the job. Sitting in his small apartment, Ayo's thoughts swirled with bitterness. He felt the weight of the betrayal like a stone in his chest. 2 weeks passed without a single word from his former workplace. Every day, Ayo sent out his CV, went for interviews, but nothing clicked. The whispers of Tunde haunted him, and soon whispers turned into full-blown anger. One night, his friend Kunle came over. "Ayo, you look terrible," Kunle said, eyeing him with concern. "I lost my job because I refused to give up my principles," Ayo replied. Kunle's brow furrowed as he listened. "Ayo, you can't let them win," he said. "You need to fight back. Show them you're not finished." Ayo shook his head, defeated. "What can I do? They're a big company. I'm just one man." "There are ways," Kunle insisted, "but you need to decide how far you're willing to go. Sometimes, to bring change, we must act." Ayo's nights were restless, plagued by thoughts of revenge. But what could truly make things right? Finally, he decided to take a step he'd never considered before. He sought the advice of a lawyer. "I want to sue the company," he told the lawyer, eyes burning with suppressed anger, "for wrongful dismissal." The lawyer nodded, understanding the flicker of hope in Ayo's eyes. "I can help with that," he assured, his voice firm. Around town, whispers spread as news of Ayo's lawsuit leaked. His story caught attention. Many knew and respected him. Others just loved the drama. One afternoon, as Ao walked through the market, he overheard two women talking. "I hear Ao is suing his old company," one said. "Good for him. They treated him badly." He felt a strange mix of anxiety and resolve. His fight was beginning to reach beyond himself. The case moved slowly, but it moved. Ao kept his head high, attending hearings, speaking with the press at times. Tunde, he heard, was spreading more rumors, trying to paint Ao as greedy. But Ao ignored him. He had bigger battles to fight. One day, as he waited in court, he saw Mr. Dairo enter, looking every bit the stressed businessman. Their eyes met briefly. Ao held his gaze steady, unrelenting. Testimony after testimony painted a picture of the corporate culture that was uncomfortably tilted. Ayo's commitment was evident, his principles unshaken. Yet, the fight was grueling, taking its toll on him and his finances. Kunle stayed by his side, offering moral support. "You're doing the right thing," he often reminded Ao. "Don't stop." Ao nodded, though worry lines etched deeper into his face. He was burning both energy and bridges, and everything rode on a fragile edge. As the case neared its conclusion, Mr. Dairo approached Ao one day post-hearing. He was weary, worn down by the battle. "Ao, we never wanted things to go this far," Mr. Dairo said, looking older than his years. "We can settle, pay you what you deserve." Ao hesitated, thoughts flooding through him. A settlement felt like an easy option, yet something in him screamed for more. Justice, not just for himself, but the notion that no one should suffer for honoring their beliefs. Ao looked at Mr. Dairo, his decision clear now. "It's not just about money, sir," his voice steady. "It's about respect, about right and wrong." After weeks of tense hearings, the court date for the final decision arrived. Ayo's heart pounded in his chest, both fear and hope rooted deep within. The judge entered, took his seat, and the courtroom fell silent. With a voice that echoed in Ayo's heart, the verdict was read. But before anyone could react, Tunde, sitting at the back, stood, his face a canvas of guilt and shame. "I have something to confess," he announced, a tremor in his voice. All eyes turned to him as the room hovered on the brink of revelation, about to witness a truth that could turn everything inside out. Tunde stood there, all eyes fixated on him. The courtroom seemed to shrink around his trembling figure. "I have something to confess," he repeated, his voice stronger now. "I lied about Ao." A murmur spread through the room, a wave of disbelief and shock. Ayo's heart pounded, his breath caught in his throat. Mr. Dairo's brows knitted tightly. "What are you saying, Tunde?" he demanded, trying to maintain control. Tunde swallowed hard. "I fabricated stories about Ayo's prayer habits affecting our work. It wasn't true. The targets, they had nothing to do with him." The confession unraveled quickly. Tunde, driven by jealousy and a desire for promotion, had found a convenient scapegoat in Ayo's faith. The courtroom buzzed with a mixture of anger and relief. Ayo watched Tunde intently, his emotions a tangled mess of vindication and unspent rage. Kunle whispered by his side, "This changes everything, Ayo. You could win this." But Ayo's thoughts were elsewhere. The heavy burden of revenge and justice weighed down on him. Was winning really going to ease the pain? The judge called a recess, giving everyone time to process the revelation. Outside the courtroom, Ayo found himself standing alone, staring at the sky, the blue stretching endlessly above him. His heart was a tempest, both grateful for truth and heavy with unspoken bitterness. Kunle approached softly, handing Ayo a bottle of water. "How do you feel?" he asked quietly. "I don't know," Ayo admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I thought this would give me peace, but I'm not sure it will." As the court reconvened, Mr. Dairo took the stand. His voice was somber. "I want to apologize publicly to Ayo. We made a grave error by letting these rumors dictate our decisions." The room was hushed. Ayo heard the words, but they felt hollow. The damage had been done, his trust shattered like fragile glass. But at that moment, something within him began to stir, an unsettling awareness that his battle wasn't just with the company or Tunde, but also with himself. Ayo sat through the rest of the proceedings in a daze. His soul felt burdened. He thought of his late grandmother's words, often spoken during times of trial. Olorun ma so okan redi ala anu. May God turn your heart to mercy. He remembered the Bible she would read, the passages that spoke of forgiveness and letting go. Just thoughts, now surfacing like distant echoes in his mind. The judge's final decision was due soon. He needed to act, but what was the right thing to do? Later at home, Ayo sat alone, enveloped by the dim evening light seeping through the curtains. He absent-mindedly picked up his Bible, fingers trailing over its worn cover. Desperation clawed at him, an urgent need to find something more than what retribution offered. He ran his fingers through the pages, resting on Matthew 6:14. For if you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. A sigh broke free from him, shaky and uncertain. God, help me, he whispered, flooded by the simple truth that sought to reshape his heart. During another break in court, Ayo approached Tunde, who sat alone, head bowed in shame. Taking a deep breath, Ayo tapped his shoulder. Tunde, Ayo began, words stumbling over his tongue. I won't lie. What you did was hurtful. But I can't carry this anger anymore. Tunde looked up, surprise apparent in his eyes. Ayo, Wait, Ayo interrupted gently, his voice steadied by something stronger than himself. I forgive you, Tunde. Not because it's easy, but because it's what I need to do. I need to move on. I hope you find peace too. The words hung between them, an unimagined balm over old wounds. Tunde nodded, emotion choking his voice as he replied quietly, Thank you, Ayo. I've regretted every lie. As Ayo walked away, a sense of unexpected lightness accompanied him. The courtroom proceedings felt distant now, overshadowed by this new, profound revelation. He was beginning to truly grasp that vengeance was far heavier than forgiveness. Closing statements circled around Mr. Dayro's apology and Tunde's confession. When the judgment finally came, Ayo received compensation and the public admittance of his wrongful dismissal. Yet, even as victory settled upon him, he realized that the real triumph was the peace growing within. It wasn't just about justice anymore, it was about reclaiming his heart's harmony. The celebrations were subdued. A few close friends, Kunle among them, gathered at Ayo's home. There was laughter, but Ayo's mind remained reflective. You're different, you know, Kunle observed as they sat on Ayo's veranda, sipping chilled drinks. I've found something beyond revenge, Kunle, Ayo admitted, a fragile yet firm happiness lacing his words. I think God used this to teach me what it truly means to trust him. Ayo thought about his future. The case had brought unexpected opportunities. Another company offered him a position, recognizing the integrity he demonstrated. But for Ayo, the journey was no longer just about work. It was about living faithfully, both in prayer and in genuine human connection, guided by Christ's message of forgiveness. The evening drew on, and Ayo found himself looking through his window, the vast sky a reminder of infinite possibilities and God's enduring grace. Tunde had left the company, making amends by volunteering at a local charity. Their conversation lingered in Ayo's mind. There was hope for Tunde too. Before bed, Ayo knelt again, this time in gratitude. The prayer flowed seamlessly from his heart. Thank you, Lord, for showing me that peace isn't about taking back what's mine. It's about letting go. Help me to walk in your ways. In the weeks that followed, Ayo moved on with fresh resolve. His story, once centered on injustice, had shifted to one of redemption and purpose beyond personal trials. His community admired his strength, his quiet faith echoing louder than any action ever could. Ayo stood one morning at the same spot where he had been fired. The air was calm, unlike the chaos that once clouded his thoughts. With the Bible clasped in his hand, he smiled softly, not for the past, but for the future. He realized, perhaps with an understanding both solemn and joyful, revenge may take everything, but Christ gives everything back, greater and fuller. That was the ending he never expected, but deeply needed.
Thank you so much for listening to this intriguing story. I hope it touched you or taught you something. For more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. And guys, if you'd like to see a part two, or you have thoughts on what happened, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.